Hi everybody, and welcome to our newest video. This is going to be another collaboration. The host of this collaboration is Ingrid from Mama and Mia Homeschool Chronicles. I'll have her channel link down below, and also of course the link for this playlist down below. So definitely go ahead and check out all the other videos. And what are we doing in this collab? Well, we are remembering the 80s. Feels like it was such a long time ago. And I was actually born in 1980, so I was able to make it through the entire 80s myself, but I was pretty young, so some of the things that I'm going to remember are just kind of from childhood, so we shall see how this video turns out. So with this collab, there's just a few questions about the 80s, the best and worst things like toys and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. And I have my little banana clipboard here with the questions on the other side. Alright, so the first thing we're going to go ahead and talk about is toys. The best and worst toys of the 80s. Now I have to tell you, with the 80s, they had some awesome toys. Toys are where it was at a long time ago. Now the toys are just crazy expensive. But anyway, if you remember Rainbow Bright, we had the Care Bears, we had that Snoopy snow cone machine, you know, shaped like Snoopy's doghouse, and it had like a little hole and you made little snow cones in it. The Nintendo came out in the middle of the 80s, and I remember it was 1985 because my parents got that for Christmas for us, and I was 5 years old and I got to play Super Mario. And as far as the worst toys from the 80s, I really can't remember any. I just remember the good fun toys because I was a kid in the 80s. Alright, so next is going to be music. This probably is not going to be a big topic for me because honestly, I was a kid, so what did I remember? What kind of music did I listen to? Probably listen to kids' music, like nursery rhymes and so on. But I remember Michael Jackson, that song Beat It. my sister used to listen to that. And my sister used to listen to, I think they were from the 80s, Duran Duran. Like, she was obsessed with Duran Duran for like my whole life growing up. I don't know when the whole obsession started, but I think it might have been the 80s. And then I just remember that girls just wanna have fun. That Cyndi Lauper song. Girls, we just wanna have. I don't know the exact words, but I remember that. And then there's like those 80s hair bands. Those are probably the worst music of the 80s. No offense if you like them. The big crazy hair. Rock bands. Never really been much into rock music, but that's what I'm thinking that my best and worst memories of the 80s are as far as music is concerned. Cartoons. As I mentioned, I was a kid in the 80s, so Care Bears, Smurfs, Fraggle Rock, I think that Gem, that girl, like Barbie show or whatever, I think they're from the 80s. DuckTales. Remember Uncle Scrooge used to swim in his big huge money vaults? I remember that from the 80s. And I have to say the worst show that I can remember from the 80s is because my brother made me watch it all the time, was He-Man. That's just a silly name. They bet, what cartoon are you watching? I'm watching He-Man. I just remember I did not like that cartoon. I don't really know why or have any reason to, but that would be my pick for the worst cartoon for the 80s. TV shows. Okay, as again, you know, kind of mentioned cartoons. Probably watch a lot of cartoons, but I remember like Punky Brewster. I remember that was my favorite show. I can't remember any shows that are the worst shows from the 80s. Fashion from the 80s. So the favorite fashion, I don't know, I just wore regular shirts and pants back then. That's all I remember. But you know, my mom used to have like permed hair, and I remember watching like TV, like with those workout videos that were on TV, and they wore those leg warmers. I thought that was silly. And the worst fashion I can remember from the 80s are those fingerless gloves. It's like, why bother wearing a glove if there's no fingers in it? It doesn't keep your whole hand warm, so what's the point? Alright, so let's talk about food. I think fruit snacks, they came out in the 80s. I had to actually look this question up because I don't remember food that I ate in the 80s, because it's the food that I eat now, like meatloaf, hamburgers, all that stuff, chicken, you know, I ate that I remember. Sloppy Joes came out in the 80s. I used to like Sloppy Joes. And then my worst thing that I remember is that Tab soda. I always liked Coca-Cola soda, and it probably didn't drink a lot of soda back then, but I remember the Tab soda, and it had a funny name, and it was in a pink can. And then last but not least is places to go. I don't even remember. I know when I was a kid I lived in Florida, so we went to Florida to Massachusetts, and I know that Disney was here. I probably went there a couple of times. And I remember going to a department store, Ames, all the time, and I remember that's where I got my first Cabbage Patch Kids. My parents went there and we waited in line to actually buy the doll, and my parents got it for me. And worst places, I don't really remember any worst places because I was a kid and everywhere we went, it was with my parents. Actually, I take that back. My parents always made me go to the grocery stores, and I used to not like going to the grocery stores, so I'll say that's the worst place to go for my memory from the 80s. Those are all the topics that we're discussing today for remembering the 80s. Let me know one of your memories from the 80s down below if you were around in the 80s. If not, just leave a nice childhood memory in the comments down below. And once again, this is a collab, so don't forget to look at the other videos in the playlist. And I want to thank you so much for watching. And as always, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and we'll see you next time. Bye.